second camp that just ended. Anyways, hi everybody. My name is Ha. I have been in Silicon Valley Tech as a product leader for 16 years and then another 9 years doing a bunch of different roles, venture, COO roles, consulting roles, etc. I have always been what I consider like a non-technical PM. So I've been able to conceptualize ideas, but I've never been able to bring them to life on my own without the help of engineers. Um, I had been playing around with this idea, and some of you might have seen me post about it. About superconnector AI. So I have 16,000 LinkedIn connections. I wanted to be able to query my connections in natural language to like make introductions because I always get people telling me like, "Hey, Ha, like you know a lot of people. Who do you know who, is in this industry or this space?" And my brain was never big enough to like remember everybody. And so I built this tool for myself. It ended up being a warm intro tool. I don't think we'll have time for me to demo it today, but I had shared this idea with my friend Kasim, who I've known for 5 years. Kasim is a serial entrepreneur, and he has many different businesses that he'll maybe talk about a little bit. Kasim was like, "Oh, you should just vibe code it yourself," and I was like, "Great, but Kasim, I'm not. I'm going to get stuck. I'm not technical enough." And he was like, "You should participate in my first boot camp." I participated in the first boot camp. I was blown away. So much so that I shared it with a bunch of my friends, including Danny and Gal, who hopefully is here or joining us shortly. They participated in the boot camp. They're going to demo their products. They are incredible products. Anyways, I want to turn the floor over to Kasim because we're running our third boot camp. It starts Friday, September 12th. He's going to share a little bit more about it, but I am such a believer. The first boot camp that I was participated in was an NPS of 91. I don't know if we got the stats yet for the second boot camp, but like people have been raving about like moving from just prototyping stage, with all these other vibe coding tools to actually having real products that have launched in production surrounded by instructors, mentors, and a community that supports you all along the way. So I'm excited for all of you to learn more. And with that, Kasim, I'm going to hand it to you.
Thank you so much, Ha. And yeah, before I begin, would like to thank you because none of this would be possible without you. Ha is like our unofficial slash official chief evangelist. She's been absolutely monumental in, helping spread the word and building a great product herself. So super excited. Let me quickly share my screen. Awesome. Can everyone see the screen? Okay, perfect. So let's get started. I won't take too much time like explaining all the things. I'll open it up for Q&A, and most importantly, I'd love for you to see like real demos of people that have built during this bootcamp. So a little bit about me. I run a company called Remote Base. It's sort of an engineer marketplace. We've scaled to over 350,000 engineers that we've screened through the last 5 years. So we've screened these engineers. Some of them work with some of the top companies in Silicon Valley, and then also run a small venture studio. And SnapDev is part of that venture studio. So essentially, SnapDev is your own AI coding assistant that not only helps you build prototypes, but also like actual products that you ship on your own URL that you can hand to customers that they can use and test and modify, and all of that within 2.5 weeks. So I run a couple of other small ventures as well. So before I get started, I think one of the biggest pain points and how we got started was that I would speak to a lot of people and saw a big pain in the market. So tools like Cursor and Windsurf are absolutely incredible, but they're more focused towards technical teams and technical engineers pretty much. Whereas again, Lovable and Bolt are brilliant, but they're more for building prototypes. And then when you get stuck, there's not much you can do about it. So spoke to a bunch of people and they had similar thoughts. And then we decided to run the first cohort, which is like, can people come in with ideas and then leave with their own entire products deployed to production, usable, and move them start to finish? And the entire idea was that can we just keep helping them to get unblocked, and if we can keep doing that, through our one-on-one engineering support, we have a winning idea, we have a winning product. So that's how it started. That was cohort one. Now this is cohort three, so things are moving pretty quickly. Um, and the goal is like you can build anything. You come in with the idea, you leave with the product. When I say anything, we do narrow down the scope for 2.5 weeks just to make sure that it's not 100 features that we're building. But apart from that, you can pretty much build anything. We shy away from mobile apps, but those are only the two things that we recommend not doing. However, that being said, as part of the build anything ethos, people that graduate from these boot camps, so for example, someone in cohort one is now turning their web application into a mobile application. So we'll continue to support you to do that after the cohort as well. So what is SnapCamp? It's a 2.5 week, very intense boot camp where you will be dedicating your time to, turning your idea into like a functional product. It combines vibe coding, so you don't have to write any code. You don't need any prior coding experience. So you'll be vibe coding, basically coding in natural language, and you'll have daily stand-ups, one-on-one sessions, and an entire community around you to help support you and answer any questions and keep pushing you forward. And one thing that's really stood out is the accountability that comes with it, which is when you work with your teammates, you see their progress, it pushes you to push yourself and move forward as well. And in the end, we have everyone shipping, and it's a blast. It's not easy, but it's absolutely amazing and worth it. That's why we have like some insane stats that I'll share with you. So cohort one, so we still have people filling out the forms for cohort two, for the feedback forms, because it just ended last week. But for cohort one, we only had 13 participants. Cohort two was about 30 participants. So cohort one, we had 100% ship rate. Everyone that came in shipped products. Net promoter score, I've never seen this high of a net promoter score. So it was 91. Average one-on-one engineering time used was 3.5 hours per person. I was expecting this to be much higher, so that was pretty interesting. Where we even had people that had no prior coding, so everyone had no prior coding experience, but especially like there were some people that used zero engineering hours, which was pretty incredible, and built and pushed through all of this, the entire boot camp, and then deployed their applications. So things that worked really well for us is our daily ritual of jump of a call every single day. This time it's going to be 8 a.m. Pacific time. So every day we hop on a call. Sometimes it's sessions. Sometimes it's sessions telling you how to build these products, walking you through the workflows. Other times it's sharing tips and tricks, what works well, what doesn't work well. We also invited an instructor in the last cohort to talk a little bit about make the technical stuff a little bit easier. So CS 101 stuff, how front end and back end works together. So these sessions happen every single day. It's only 1 hour, and every day for 2.5 weeks, except the weekends, you will be having these sessions. Whenever you get stuck, you have live one-on-one engineering support. We try our best to make sure they're available for as much as possible, but around 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, you'll have these engineers available, so you can work in the morning or maybe even later at night. So they'll be available to help you push through any obstacles that you're facing. We have a very strong Slack community, so people helping each other out. This is a very key component of it. And then of course you'll be vibe coding through the process, through the entire cohort, and I'll walk you through how that works as well very quickly. So all of this is built on our own SnapDev platforms. We're leveraging some of the most popular AI coding assistants out there and some of the most popular large language models, including Claude and Gemini. So you basically come up with the idea, you generate PRDs, and then you basically end up with a fully functional product. So this is the process. So the way it works is you start off with just the idea, and you use our prototype tool to basically, it's not really a prototype, it's actually a fully functional front end with dummy data. So you just, this is something we're doing different this time. So last time we did the front end and back end together. This time we're separating them so that you can visualize what your product is going to look like before you start building out, integrations and Stripe and payments and all of those things. So you start off with the front end UI using our prototyping tool. And once that's done, you go into the advanced tool, which is where you will connect the front end and the back end, and you'll get support. In both cases, you'll have access to engineers. So process is, you come with the idea, that idea gets turned into a PRD document, that PRD document gets converted, you start working with the AI to generate the entire front end of the product. And then once the entire front end is done, you do step by step and start building features and integrating it with the back end. And then once the front end and back end is done, you do the deployments, and you have support across everything. You dedicate the first week into building your front end, getting used to the platform, starting bits and pieces of the back end. And then the second week and a half is all about completing your product and then deploying it. So that's kind of how the user journey works. It's 2.5 weeks, starts on September 12th. This is just like some rough session outline. It's gonna move around depending on the pace of the cohort. So we keep moving sessions based on how well the cohort is progressing. But in 2.5 weeks, we wrap up. But 2.5 weeks doesn't mean it's the end of it. We will continue to provide support even after the cohort. Just make sure that you deliver and you turn your idea into products. Um, so this is the link to register. I will paste it in the chat as well in like 3 to 4 minutes. So you can register here. Tuition is 1995, but 1495 if you register by September 5th. It takes only 2 minutes max. It's just like 4 to 5 fields, and it comes with 5 hours of one-on-one engineering time. It's actually closer to 10 hours, but 5 hours, we say 5 hours because that's the one-on-one time you get. But the engineers also work behind the scenes and make sure that you're moving forward. And if there are any obstacles, they help you out. They review your development plans, they review your PRD documents, and do all of that stuff behind the scenes. But you get 5 hours of actual one-on-one working on your project time through the engineers. We have $400 in Gemini API credits. Good news, hopefully, fingers crossed, is I spoke to Anthropic yesterday, so we might get Anthropic credits. So if we get those, then that's going to be an even bigger unblock, because Anthropic is really, really great at debugging issues when it comes to that. So you learn all of that during the bootcamp, and then you have over 10 hours of live sessions that will be done during this bootcamp. We have a team of around now 11 people, including mentors, including mentors, facilitators, excluding the engineers. So with the engineers, it's going to be close to 15 to 20 people that are going to be helping run this entire bootcamp. So that's like almost 1% per, uh, sorry, 1 person for every two participants. So a big team that helps you. It's not like your usual boot camps where it's like, where it's less hands-on. This is very hands-on work that we do. And structurally, the way it works is that we divide the entire cohort into different pods, and then these pods have their own demo days, and then you get to interact with 5 to 6 same people every day. So it creates that accountability, and then you work with these individuals, you get to learn more about them. ICP last couple of cohorts was people with like 10, 15, 20 years of experience in the tech industry. We had a few people outside the tech industry, but these are very well like accomplished individuals. So that just didn't write code, but were able to push through all of this. And then we had a few people that were also able to publish projects. I think Gal, who will be demoing, was not initially from the tech industry. So we have like a very diverse set of people that go through these boot camps. So with that, I know I've been going on for 10 minutes. I would stop and ask any questions that you have, and then we will get into the demos. I know this was a lot of information to absorb, so I'm sure you might have questions.
Hi there. I have a question I'll ask. Thank you for that overview. So I have a question, actually three questions. One, how did you land on 2.5 weeks for the sort of course? Like, how did you just determine that was like the right amount of time? Can you elaborate a little bit on the app piece? Like, what's the kind of reluctance around helping to develop apps? And then lastly, what is the expectation? Like, what kind of a product can you expect to have at the end? Is this just like basically kind of like an MVP that, like an alpha stage product, or is this like something that, you think is like, commercially viable?
Yep, great questions. So the first one, how did we end up with 2.5 weeks? So cohort one was actually 4 weeks, and then we had people that not only shipped one product, but they ended up building two products. And then those people, like Shan, he's might be on the call. He's demoed in the last couple of info sessions. So he ended up building two products with like 10, 20 features per product, and then we just like figured out that 4 weeks was like there wasn't a lot of content in the last week and a half because everyone was pretty much done with their projects and they were just like enhancing them, which we tell you how to do as well, like during the cohort. So then we sort of shrank it to 2.5 weeks because we wanted to make it a little bit more intense and we wanted people to be super engaged. 4 weeks just seemed like it became like very long in terms of timelines, and a lot of people were done by then. So that's the first question. Second question, so mobile apps is doable. It's just that we shy away from it because when you do mobile, then you have to think about Android, and then you have to think about iOS, and then when you think about Android, then you have different devices, and then what would probably end up happening, even if you use something like React Native, is like some things might work on some devices, and then some things might look a little funky on some other devices. So we don't want to get stuck in like this phase where we're like just figuring out devices. So it's like, okay, let's do a web application first, and then after the cohort is over, you can still continue and sort of convert that web application into a mobile application. And we're already doing that with a couple of people from past cohorts. So that's the mobile application stuff, because we want you to focus on learning how to vibe code and not like test on 5 different devices. So that was that. And what was your, oh yeah. And then in terms of your question around, is this a more like an MVP or more like a consumer production grade application? So the answer to that question is honestly it depends. So it depends on how quickly you pick up things, and then also how much time you're dedicating to it. I would definitely not say that you should aim to build 20 features. And while I don't recommend that, we have had people that ended up building like 10, 20 features, like Shayan, for example, in the first cohort. So it all depends. But what's the core outcome, if that's the question? So I think the core outcome you should be aiming for is that whatever your idea is, what is the core functionality, value addition, the minimum viable product that you can put in the hands of customers that can create value for them. So it shouldn't be something like a prototype where it's like, okay, you see this dashboard, this is how it works, but it doesn't work, but you tell me your feedback. That's not an outcome. But the outcome is, okay, this is my dashboard, and you can get stats on restaurants based in the Bay Area on what their reviews are, and you can shortlist them based on, I don't know, like I think Danny's project is pretty incredible and Gal's projects are pretty incredible. So you'll see like actual outcomes where it can create value for users. And I feel like that's the best way to describe it. So it shouldn't be a million features, shouldn't be 10 features, but should be something that creates value, saves people time, and something that they'd, if it's commercial, then they'd be willing to pay for. If it's for your own company, that's something that you can give to your engineers in the company and say, okay, I've like tested this, given it to our customers love it, they've used it, now integrated with our existing solution or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Kasim, why don't we go off the screen share and then see if there's more questions, and then we'll go into demos after
Yep.
this.
Looks like there's some questions in the chat.
Yep, I'm just gonna look at the chat.
And then Yvonne, why don't you go off mute and ask your question while Kasim is looking at.
Yeah, I
Chat.
dropped a question in the chat too, but I'm curious, what is the vibe coding tool that's being used in the background to support this? Because I've used every single one of them. I've vibe coded and prototyped a lot of stuff for people, so I'm kind of curious what you're using.
Yep. So then your case is very similar to Gal, who's also going to demo today. We are using our own actually. So we have two tools. One is the prototyping tool, and the other one is like the coding tool or the pro mode. So think of it like a mixture between Lovable and Cursor, because both of them have like different advantages and disadvantages. So so we use our own platform for both of these, because then we can do the handoff between both the tools and more strictly control the entire solution start to finish. And then most importantly, within both of these tools, you have your own chat, so you can talk to an engineer whenever you would like, or schedule a call with an engineer. Both of those options are available, which then helps them. They know what tool you're using, and then they can get access to your code and then just take it from there.
Kasim, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I have two questions actually. One is, I just wanted to confirm what are the daily commitment for like live sessions. So one you said is a daily stand up in the morning, and then I think I also heard you say there's an hour-long session. But could you just confirm?
Yes, so every day, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time. So that's gonna be sometimes, like for example, the first Monday, as the first Friday is gonna be demoing the tools, how to use them, etc. And then right after Friday, the first Monday that comes, that is gonna be around showcasing the prototype you've built. So every hour-long session is different, but sometimes it's just going to be getting updates from people, but based on where you are in the cohort. But the time commitment for live sessions is 1 hour. And then the time commitment for however long you want to build. Like we've had people that have gone from spending 1 to 2 hours, 3 hours a day to 10 hours a day. Like you see all sorts of different people spending different amounts of time.
Got it. And then the second question was the vibe, since you guys have your own vibe coding tool, so beyond the program itself, are you seeing people continue to use that tool? Are there going to be any costs associated with using the tool?
Yep. So far, from the first cohort, we have like 70% plus conversion, that people still end up using the tools. In terms of costs, we do give you packages, but if you just want to use the platform and bring your own API keys and not use engineering time, then there's no cost for that. But if you want to use the APIs and the engineering time, we have different packages for that, depending on how many engineering hours you want to use. Roughly, it's like 150 for 2 hours a month of engineering time if you want to use it, and then 300 for 5 hours of engineering time. Again, if you want to use it. If you don't want to use engineering time, you don't have to pay that.
Okay, got it. And are there any other costs that we should think about in terms of taking our applications live, that would be beyond the program cost itself?
That's a great question. So the only thing I would recommend is, so we're trying to get Anthropic as a partner. So hopefully that works out. If not, then do expect around $150 for debugging and Claude credits, just on the side. But hopefully we'll get the partnership, them as partners. So that's just a buffer. It shouldn't go above that.
Okay. And does that mean you're going to be using Claude Code or?
And the Claude API, we're going to use the Claude API.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And then for the AI coding assistant, like Danny mentioned, it's built on top of RuCode, which is like RuCode and Klein. So original was Klein. It's like one of the most popular AI coding assistants that exists, open source. So we basically created our own AI agents on top of that to take ideas into PRD documents, development plans, and all of that stuff. So that was not part of the original coding assistants, but that's sort of why it's like battle tested, because they have like 4 or 5 million users combined.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have another question from Chris. So are participants setting up and paying for own tools and stacks? Yes, so participants are paying for own tools and stacks. However, hosting is included. If you do it on render, we pay for it. For the deployments. But apart from that, let's say you wanna use SendGrid for emails, you wanna use some other tool for anything else. So those tools you'll have to obviously sign up yourself. In terms of it being like a sandbox environment. So we are moving a little bit more towards making sure that we take care of everything start to finish. That being said, you have complete transparency and visibility. So you could be like, hey, I don't want to deploy here, I want to deploy somewhere else. And then you can use the engineering time to help you deploy somewhere else. So that option is available. You'll have your entire code on GitHub. It's going to be your code. You will give access to people. You can take away access to people. So all of that stuff is going to be there.
Let's launch into a couple of demos, and then we'll take more questions at the end. So,
Yes.
so Gal and Danny, anybody ready to go first? And then
Danny, it's
also,
all
like,
you and the Benjamins.
and then feel free as you share your demos to also talk about your bootcamp experience too, because both of you participate in bootcamp too. And then I see Cheyenne and Cassie here who are part of bootcamp 1, so they can maybe during Q&A talk a little bit about their experience as well. But
Yeah.
Danny, I think you're up.
Happy to do so. Okay, let me share my screen. So as I start, I think just to give everyone context on me, I've been a product leader for the last 15 years. I spent the prior 7 years working on Wall Street, doing investment banking and corporate strategy. I've spent the last year building a bunch of prototypes with vibe coding tools, like everything from Lovable to Replit. And I've continuously found it's really hard to get one of those things to go from a clickable prototype into a real production application. And for me, like the biggest thing for me was the cold start problem. Like I had never done engineering before. I didn't know, like I knew what VS Code was, but had no idea how to set up a local development environment. Like I knew nothing about actually doing engineering. So when I found out about SnapDev and SnapCamp, the big thing for me was like, I'm curious to see how this goes. I'd love to see if I can actually get something to production. And what I used for inspiration that I've ended up working on is shortly before the bootcamp started, I was hanging out with some friends who work on Wall Street. One of them works at a private equity company who gets 1,200 companies a year that send them information because they want to be acquired by this PE company. That's 6 companies every day that my friend's firm in his group get that want to be acquired. And they have no way of evaluating all of those companies. So what I set out to build was an AI associate for private equity that can evaluate an acquisition in minutes instead of days. So I'll take you through a little bit of what that experience looks like, just to give you a sense of what's possible. And like Kasim and Ha mentioned, I spent probably 40 hours building this over the course of 2.5 weeks. There were people that spent way less time building their applications, but this is what I spent doing mine. So I'm going to log in. And just for the sake of time, I set up a project just to show you all what this can do and not necessarily run it in real time because it takes a little while and you'll see why. So I set up a project. My project is called Fender Bender and it's an acquisition evaluation. So within Benjamin, so my product is called Benjamin because in Wall Street, it's all about the Benjamins. What I set up was a 3-step process. The first step was, as a private equity company, I get an inbound from a company that wants to be acquired, a target company. And they typically send me something called a confidential information memorandum. My company likely also has a view on the sector that we're investing in. So in this case, what I've done is I've uploaded a SIM from a company, which is a collision repair center, right? And I've just sort of simple upload, right? An upload file is easy. I've uploaded my company's point of view on car collision centers as an investment opportunity. And then what I've done is I've generated what I call an initial evaluation report. So in the background, what I'm doing is I'm taking both of these documents, I'm loading them into a vector store, and then passing all of that information to OpenAI via the GPT 4.1 API with a fairly robust prompt that says, here's what you should act as, here's the structure of a file and the type of analysis I want you to do. You have to reference information in these files and you can supplement it with web search. And about 2 minutes later, what I get back is a really nicely formatted initial evaluation report. So here you can see there's an initial evaluation report that was run using my prompt and the reference documents via OpenAI. And it has something that you would expect to see if you were working at a private equity company. So there's an executive summary about the company, an overview of the business, a market overview, and you can see in each of these sections what I've told OpenAI to give me back, and I've been able to parse into this document is a reasoning summary for where this information is coming from, right? So we go through this whole process, and step one is just give me a sense of what this company is and what they do. Then, if I'm a private equity company, I want to evaluate potentially acquiring this company, I need to understand how much they're worth. So the second step in this process that I talked to a bunch of my friends about, and I know from past experiences, you need to build a financial model. And what I've done is I've then built a financial model generation step in Benjamin. So now that the initial evaluation report is done, I take that initial evaluation report and all the other documents that I received from the company, and I trigger a series of actions to generate a detailed, what's called a discounted cash flow analysis. So I've created a prompt that passes to OpenAI with vectorized documents. So I take the initial evaluation report, the target report, and the sector evaluation, send it all to OpenAI and say, here's the type of analysis I want you to run. Here's how specific parts of the math need to be done. Send me back a summary of the historical data and a bunch of projections and what you think this company should be worth. And eventually, about 3 to 5 minutes later, what I get back is a summary that looks something like this. So this comes back as a JSON from OpenAI. I parse it so that it can render easily in the web. And it's a series of assumptions that are made. It's a summary of the free cash flows. The actuals were provided in the documents that I provided to Benjamin. All the projections were generated with Benjamin and OpenAI, kind of going back and forth on what assumptions should be. And then I get a value of this company. There's also an Excel version that I can show, but I'm not gonna focus on it. If anybody's curious afterwards, I'm happy to show you. But I effectively take all the JSON responses and parse them into Excel with an Excel creation function. And then last but not least, what I really care about is whether I should acquire this company. So the last step is that Benjamin takes all the initial evaluation report information, all the financial model information, and generates a recommendation that as a financial associate at a PE company, I can go and share with an investment committee to decide whether or not to dig deeper into this company. So you can see like there's a button to generate an evaluation report. It takes about 2 minutes to do. And what we get back is a final evaluation report. So similar to the prior steps, right? This involved a lot of prompt engineering to get the AI models to output the information that I wanted after doing the work that I required of it. So in the end, what we end up with is Benjamin is recommending we pass on this company. It's only a 5 out of 10 in terms of attractiveness. Here's all the rationale that we used to get to that. The minimum acquisition price that was supported. The target is asking for a much higher price, right? So we think it's worth 3 million. They're asking 4.8 million. And there's a whole bunch of investment theses and business overview and all the types of stuff that you would expect if you were working at a private equity company. So the idea is, and by the way, again, like I built this in 2.5 weeks. There's still certainly things that need to be polished around the edges. It is nearly, I would say, production ready. It is live on a website, but I haven't started having people test it yet. But my goal is to give private equity companies a tool where they can load a bunch of information and have a score come out that I need to put on this page that says pass with an attractiveness score or dig deeper with an attractiveness score, right? And that will significantly accelerate their ability to evaluate 6 acquisition opportunities every day, or more. So that is Benjamin.
That's that's awesome, Danny. Incredible job. Thank you so much for demoing. Please do leave your email if somebody wants to, have a conversation about your product.
Yeah, if people have questions about anything before or during the build or after it or my experience during, I'm happy to answer. SnapDev as a product has been great. SnapCamp as a construct has been super helpful. It helped me get over the cold start problem that I didn't know how to get past. And it is insanely addicting once you start getting into this thing and actually building it. Yeah, Carter, go ahead. I see your hand up.
Quick question. How much of your time, say the 40 hours, was dedicated towards customer development to really understand how to, shape the product versus actually implementing the product? Obviously, you had a lot of background already, so maybe you didn't need to rely on that very much.
Yeah, for me in particular, there were 0 of those 40 hours were customer research because I knew what my friends needed, right? I had sort of lived in this world and my goal was to get them an MVP. There are other folks, like I could have spent time and like shown this to my friend and gotten feedback, but it took me a while to get the entire sequence of AI systems to get the output that I was really looking for. And now, like my goal for myself is by the end of the week to sort of throw this up and get people to start using it. A question that you didn't ask, but I will answer anyway, is how much time did you spend like writing prompts versus doing the actual development work versus debugging? And I would say I probably spent 10% of my time writing and iterating on the system prompts, maybe 15% of my time. Another 15 to 20% of my time, like working with SnapDev through the build, and 50% of the time doing testing and debugging, right? Because it writes things really fast, but nothing ever works right the first time. So there's always like, oh, I went to test this and it didn't work, and I told SnapDev the error that I see, or it can see it automatically in the terminal, and it kind of iterates its way through.
Okay, incredible. I see a bunch of questions in the chat. So Danny, why don't you answer questions for you in the chat? We're gonna go to Gal just to stay on schedule. We're gonna go to Gal to do like maybe a 5-minute demo, couple minutes for questions, and then we're gonna open it up to Q&A for everybody. And then we also have Cassie and Cheyenne, I think, still here that can also answer questions about the SnapCamp experience. And Gal, I'm excited to see this because I missed the demo. I had to like leave early, so I missed your demo, and it was super well received. I think the winner of Bootcamp 2 demo day. So I'm excited.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. This whole experience, I think I'm still in a high since it all started. You know, it's not even the ending of it. It's just everything was so great about it. So I've seen a lot of questions today. I think Yvonne and Hussein were talking about, other platforms for vibe coding. So my experience would actually help you a lot, I believe. I hope so. I'll just start by saying that I have 0 experience in code. I'm not from the tech industry. I do very well in business, but I've had this mission-driven idea that I've been on for years that I wanted to start. And thankfully, Cassie, one of the mentors from Cohort 1, told me, hey, you should really look into this bootcamp, and it changed my life. So I'll introduce you very quickly to Strive. Strive is a mentorship platform that is focused on feedback-first learning. I want you to think about ones that you already know, like Circle, like Kajabi, like Masterclass, and really kind of compare that. At the end of the day, what we do here with Strive is that we provide you direct feedback from people that you admire. So in my case, I played basketball most of my life. It's, picture Steph Curry actually telling you how to dribble, but not just giving you the class, but telling you how you should do it, after you show it. So you submit videos of yourself and doing whatever goals, and then you receive feedback from your mentors, okay, specifically on what you do. So it's a very personal interaction. Some of the things that matter in this platform, unlike others, is a lot of different aspects of celebrations, of communication between different users. So this was a big ask for 2 weeks. Thankfully, as I said, 0 coding experience before. It's all done. It's actually deployed. You can see it as well. And the cool thing is that it worked extremely, extremely well for the MVP, right? And the MVP said very simply, I need to be able to provide courses for mentors with existing students and give them the ability to submit using video, voice, pictures, file uploads, and any type of text, right? So you can see here, you have the course overview. This is a course already created, of course. And then you can see the goals themselves here in the list. And then basically you go through these goals one by one as a learner. The whole experience is extremely important, right? It's all about being very visual, making it very welcoming to understand exactly what to expect, exactly what to do. So you can see this all here. This is built in a way that just provides it in a very, very seamless interaction. And then basically you would post your goal. This is a text goal. So for example, once you post it, basically what happens is not just it posts into the goal page, but it also posts it automatically into the chat. So simplicity is everything. It's about making it super simple for the user to be able to access everything, to see the back and forth interaction. You can see this goal was just submitted now and it's waiting for the mentor. So before I go into anything else, I want to skip into the mentor side. And I know some of the questions were about production. So again, this is within 2.5 weeks in production. And I already have actually the first mentor onboarded. So this is a commercially or revenue generating very soon app. So what you'll see here, this is the mentor side, completely different dashboard. You can see they also have the My Courses area where in this case, they actually manage all of the course from different analytics per user and per course, per goal as well. The course details. And then on top of that, the goal creation itself needs to be very seamless, but at the same time, they want to be able to see what the users see, right? So in this example, this is where they input all of the goal details, but then if they want to see how the learner sees it, then they have their own preview page that shows it exactly. Okay, so very seamless experience. And then when you go to the messages for the mentor, you obviously have the list of different learners. And then you can see here, this is the submission that we just submitted by Jimmy King. And very simply, you can record your feedback, you can add rating, you can also record and capture. I don't know if this would work because we're on camera. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So you can actually record everything. This meant that I need to create a full chat internally inside the app. And thankfully it worked really well. This was with a huge help of the engineers of SnapCamp, so definitely wouldn't be able to do it without. And then the last part is, once you submit that feedback, it goes back to the learner. And really, I want you to think about kind of the main part of this app is a learner at any age, at any skill, that wakes up in the morning and see a notification on their phone saying, hey, Steph Curry just recorded a video giving feedback for how you do your dribble, right? I know that, basketball is in my case, but I'm sure you can think of someone you would absolutely admire to get some tips from on something you've done and getting that feedback. So I know Kasim told you guys that it's not about doing mobile apps. In my case, it was extremely important. So I can show you how it looks on mobile as well. And what you'll see is that the menu actually moved to the bottom. So this is a PWA, okay, or a web-based app, which means that it actually works on mobile 100%. You can record everything, you can see everything in mobile as well, and makes it super, super simple for the users to interact both on the mobile and on computer as well. I'll stop here, first of all, if anybody have any questions, but the reason why I want to stop is I really kind of want to touch base on what SnapDev did from your SnapCamp specifically, because on one hand, I actually built this after I had, existing interviews with learners and mentors about, what does this mean for them and how to do it well, and customer interviews like, Carter mentioned. And I built an app in Bolt, a prototype, to be able to show it. And although the app was great, looking great, it didn't have any functionality beyond just going through this mock experience, meaning it was front end only. A lot of you guys know this, and it lacked everything that the mentors wanted to do. The mentors told me, hey, I love this. How can I start? And Bolt was light years away. So I talked to Kasim after I talked to Cassie. And in 2.5 weeks, we made it not just where I actually built the back end and front end, but more importantly, this is not just working right now with mentors, but it allowed me to learn how to actually code the right way, how to actually implement and work with engineers, how to communicate back and forth, all of those things that I really need now that I have customers that I couldn't learn with Bolt or anywhere else. So that's first of all. And then Kasim, before I hand it off back, I just want to say I had a meeting with a company that at the beginning of the year gave me an offer to build an app for me, basically what I just built now. And I showed this to them, didn't tell them how I built it or that it's even built. I just showed them screenshots and asked, hey, how much would this cost for me? And they said anywhere between 50 to 100 grand, and it'll take a few months. So all I'm going to say is I have, I'm beyond words as far as what SnapCamp did for me. Being able to actually launch a full beta version that's fully ready in just about 2 weeks. So thank you, Kasim, and the entire team.
Thanks, Gal. You've done awesome, and Gal was the winner from the second cohort, so he's like completely blown everyone away. So thank you for taking out the time and building with us, and would super excited to continue supporting you as well over the next phases, next features, whatever you need. Awesome. Let's take some more questions. We do have 14 minutes, which is we're like exactly on time. So happy to answer any more questions. We just before that, we have shared a link. I'm going to share it again. If you want to sign up, please sign up and register. I've shared it again. So just register today, ideally, or by 5th of September to avail the $500 off. You don't need a coupon code this time because we've just like decreased the price until 5th September. So you can just go on there and sign up, and do mention if somebody referred you. So
I have one question. So how do I figure out if what I'm trying to build is something that can actually be done using your, using this bootcamp, using the products, the tools that you're using? Will you guys do like a consultation or something before we sign up?
yeah, so before you, so for the last cohort, this was mandatory. For this one, we might make it optional because we've switched things up a little bit, but you will submit your ideas and PRDs or in whatever format you like before. So you'll be added to our Slack. We'll have a submission channel. You'll just upload it there and just, share your ideas and PRDs. It was mandatory for the last cohort. The reason we're now going to make it slightly optional is because we've actually built an AI agent that analyzes that and then defers certain features and narrows down the scope and does all of that stuff. So yeah, hope that answers the question. So short answer is yes. If you want us to review it, we'll review it.
Okay. And will that happen before we register or after?
After you register. But if you have like any quick questions or if you want to share it, you can shoot me an email and just say, hey, can you just review this? I've did that in the last cohort as well, spoke to Gal as well, spoke to a lot of people. So that's like you don't have to pay before you get that feedback.
Okay, got it.
And then if you still need more support, I'm also like happy to do a one-on-one call. Yes, Gal?
Hey, about that specifically, Shruti, one thing that was a huge helper for me was that I actually met with Kasim at the beginning of the boot camp, and it kind of just helped me realize that, our success for anyone in the camp is their success. And the way that it's built this way was absolutely huge because they really made sure that any issues you have, you're going to get all the support needed and very, very quickly, by the way. I mean, they've been working more hours than most companies I've seen. And then beyond that, just keep in mind, I think it's just critical because I've heard that from so many people in our camp, the calls that you have every day and how much it gets you to just push yourself and find that time to work and put that product out there is going to be a huge helper. I know it sounds like, oh, we have a stand-up calls. These calls are actually the best helper in this camp because it makes you just want to show off everything you've built. There's others as well. To me, it was some of the best experience in this whole thing. So
Amazing. We do have a couple of folks who were participants in Bootcamp 1 who ended up becoming mentors in Bootcamp 2, and maybe one of them might be an instructor in Bootcamp 3. So I want to just give the floor a little bit to Cassie. Maybe you can share for a minute or two your experience so far with SnapCamp SnapDev, and then Cheyenne too. I think you're still on too.
Oh, I'm happy to. This has been probably one of the most transformative things I've done. I've had a 20+ year career in tech. Some of the people in tech I've worked with on this call, so good to see some of you from long ago. But I've been in product management, product leader, haven't coded since college, and coded in Excel, like VBA, not real like coding, right? So I think I'd been dabbling in AI, Bolt, Lovable, GPT, Claude, all the things, right? But I just didn't feel like I had my arms wrapped around it. And I think one of the biggest things for me, this experience, aside from being able to build and iterate on my app, which I'm very excited about, but aside from that process, I think, the biggest thing for me has been, I feel like I'm really on the bleeding edge of what's possible with AI in product development right now. And I felt like that was just an important thing for me in my career, in my lens on the future of work and all these things. Like this cohort, this group of people, were there, it's like really on the forefront of building. And then, there's a lot of implications there. But that's like one of the huge things for me. And because otherwise you're like alone. You're like reading things, maybe you're coding or doing something on Bolt, you're like watching stuff on LinkedIn, and it's like this FOMO, like what's going on out there. And this community, I think, also really helps with that, because you're not just, like it's a big deal. I started a channel in this Slack. I started a thing that's like overheard in your console, and it's like everybody's laughing about the stuff that AI says when you're trying to get it to code the thing. I see Danny nodding, like it's funny, right? But sometimes it's maddening, and you're like, why is it doing this at 2 a.m? Because it is addictive, and you'll find yourself like, going off and doing things. So I say, like, aside from being on the bleeding edge of AI and like learning how to actually do this stuff, having the community, not being alone, is a really big component that I personally get a lot of value out of. And then just seeing dreams come true. Like Gal's app is so rad, and he basically built like Kajabi but with more features in 2.5 weeks, and has like a whole roadmap for that. And to be an entrepreneurially minded person with an idea that you want to build, like there's nothing better than this. So if if you're doing it for your corporate job, cool. If you're doing it for the side hustle, cool. But like I think that's really an amazing thing that Kasim and Han team here have brought. So that's my POV.
And Cassie, I thank you for being a mentor in bootcamp 2, and I think you're going to be an instructor for bootcamp 3. So all of you will learn under Cassie's leadership, and of course, Kasim will be involved too. So super excited about that. Cheyenne, I want to give you the floor for a minute or two. So I always say, and it's true that Cheyenne was it was the MVP as the most valuable player of Bootcamp 1 because of the impressive product that you built and you continue to build, and you're commercializing it as well. So Cheyenne, share about your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always start with saying this, that this is life-changing for anybody in any capacity. Um, like, and I think that there's no better time than this. The community part is really big, but to be like, to be able to relate to what everybody's doing and what's happening in the space, I think it's important, like, to, kind of be involved. So this for me was amazing on multiple levels, but like I was involved, I got a hold of everything from scratch without any background on coding. I've been now building projects, and they've been going amazing. And like Ha said, like I'm even commercializing that. So yeah, I highly recommend this for anybody who has like an ounce of curiosity in them and who wants to learn about all of this big shift. And I've heard it from so many people who really kind of believe this, and they say, hey, this is bigger than the internet, right? Where things are changing so fast, and they're going to change so much. We gotta get like on that train. So that being one, and then eventually you want to stay on that train, right? So you want to interact with like-minded people who are learning more and more, who are sharing that knowledge. I mean, Danny, for example, I was a mentor like for his pod, but I learned so much from him because he always had that curiosity, and he would go look at all different platforms and say, hey, this is doing this is not doing this, and so on. So I think this is the time when we want to go collective. So that's why you want to go in and then eventually be a part of this. I know someone was asking in the chat, or actually I think Shruti was asking, like, how do you be a part of it? Like, eventually, do people still use a platform? They absolutely do. And I mean, I do, right? And I come up with like weekend projects now where I was thinking last week, hey, I'm going to have my 6-year-old daughter say, hey, give me an idea of a game that you want to build, and we'll go build that game with assistance. So there's so much that you can unlock. It's it's amazing. So absolutely recommended. Try it out for sure, and you'll see your life will definitely take off, and it will be a different game that you're playing now.
Awesome. Cheyenne, actually, I'm really curious since you mentioned building a game. That is something I want to do, is actually build a game. Do you think we could chat? If you could share some details for me to contact you, I'd love to hear if you have some experience using the platform building a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like 30 seconds on it. So I play pickleball, and I'm getting her to be very involved, and she's playing pickleball a little bit too. So I said, do you want to build a game where you can play pickleball? There's no game right now that you enjoy, and you could learn so much on where to hit the ball and where not to hit the ball. She's like, oh yeah, really? That'd be cool. So I was like, okay, draw me on a paper on what you want to build and how you want it to be, and then we'll start from there. And I was in my head, I was thinking will probably start with being that first, like, remember the GTA that we always started with, where everything was flat and a person was just moving and cars were just moving like this and nothing else. So I was like, maybe it starts there and eventually becomes something way more interesting. But yes, everything is possible, to be honest. And I did not believe that. But eventually, when I got in and started learning more and more, now I don't think that there's anything that can not be built by these tools. And there's so much happening. Like just yesterday, Anthropic, they raised $13 billion, and they're not gonna throw that money away anywhere. They're gonna use that money to build all of this and make it even better. So I think it's not stopping, and there's so much that can be done.
Thank you.
For context, by the way, I've shared a YouTube video for demos for the first cohort we did, which was now I think a month and a half, 2 months ago, and Sean's demos there. So it's like, if anybody wants to see that,
First one.
incredible. Celeste, you have a question? No. Okay. So I think that's pretty much about it. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to reach out to me over email. I'll share that again with you in the chat, and looking forward to having you as part of cohort 3. How do you want to add something?
No, I mean, I think you've heard from, real people, like how transformative this experience has been. So I shout it from the rooftops, but I want to make sure that like people know that this is like exactly everything that folks said. Like this is bleeding edge stuff. You're on the forefront of AI. You have a community that is rooting you on and supporting you. You have the accountability of the daily check-ins for 2.5 weeks. And then if you continue to sort of stay engaged, you will continue to learn and upskill in the world of AI, because that's what I think Kasim is trying to build, because the learning doesn't stop just at the end of bootcamp 2. So I'm super happy to have gotten to be part of bootcamp 1 and now evangelizing it to all my friends, because I really am a believer as well. So
Definitely.
everyone, hope to
And
see you.
every cohort is different, by the way.
Yeah.
So cohort 3 is going to be different because we keep changing, keep adapting, keep moving with all the latest that's happening with AI. So it's like a
Yes.
great way to
Yes.
continue
It
that.
changes all the time. Like my experience taking bootcamp 2 versus bootcamp 1, it was like it changed a lot because the tools kept getting better. And so I think bootcamp 3 is going to even be easier and faster than bootcamp 2. So excited to see how it progresses. So
And if forever whoever's interested, just like 20 seconds on this is I unlocked something just over this last weekend while Kasim was at Burning Man. I was able to like build videos also using AI. So all of this that you see here, this was one of my projects that I built. So everything was really AI. And like even these videos, and there's so much more that we're going to be doing with videos right now. But I didn't hire this person or this lady, and everything's just beautifully built, and people have loved it because I've given it to like a few people to test it out, and they're actually throwing in orders. So yeah, you'll keep learning more and more, and eventually it grows and becomes something really big, really what you want to do.
Okay,
Yep.
amazing. Your product keeps getting better and better, Cheyenne. So impressive. All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks,
It was
SnapCamp.
like an hour. Hope to see you in Bootcamp 3, and we will talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.